Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We'll get to the JRC here in a moment, but first the disclaimers, the trigger warnings, and yes, we're going to be getting to the second half of the paragraph because out of nowhere, Screencastify has decided that you hit over your number of exports. Dude, I just renewed the service for the year. So that means I had to download it onto my computer instead, and that is literally taking up the time of pretty much dial-up speed. Send help. So we'll go ahead and get into it. First, the disclaimer says, always, if you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, pertinent links, as always, are going to be in the description box. We have Autistic Hoya's massive archive in regards to the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center. We have it linked on every video. We also have the article written by Neuroclastic, the very same one that the JRC threatened that if they didn't remove it from their website, that they would do a defamation lawsuit against them. They did, for that particular article, interview over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center's so-called behavior modification program. So, folks, please read the article, share it on all your social media. We also have Neuroclass's GoFundMe linked in there as well in case the JRC ever does see through with their threat, because unlike the JRC, we don't have access to unlimited funding. Trigger warnings. When we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children, please utilize the headphones. Also, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We do use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child's 16 and younger and watching this, parental supervision is very much advised. Again, we are going to be reopening the Medicaid little mini-series since they are continuing to threaten to cut everything with a chainsaw. We'll also be talking about supplemental security income as well, both the good things, the bad things, and how, in spite of the bad things, if they allow Musk to do what he's getting ready to do, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty, folks. So, that's up ahead. Alright, now, back to where we left off before my computer decided it was time to take me back in time to the age of dial-up. Where we left off here, yes. Okay, the FDA now claims this subpopulation of refractory patients is somehow difficult or impossible to identify, and that available evidence casts doubt on whether the devices are in fact applied as a last resort after attempting all other approaches as indicated by labeling. And the reason why, folks, is because even with labeling, the GED device can still cause second and third degree burns. The device is still, even at its lowest GED 1, still 3 times more powerful than a police taser. Proper labeling does not remove the risk for injury. And how do we know the risk for injury is real? Because it has already caused injury. And we have very well documented evidence to that point, including ER documents from attending physicians, as well as the photos taken of the injuries at said ERs, as well as the JRC's very own video surveillance footage, direct care staff notes. Our evidence has evidence, okay? So you can't just sit there and say it could be possible risk. Possible risk means no injuries yet. The GED device has already caused numerous injuries, and that's why, JRC, you have been the subject of so many lawsuits. Okay? When you already have ER documentation and ER photos and video surveillance footage in regards to exactly the type of injuries the GED device can cause, and that's just the physical, we're not talking psychological, that's a pretty good indicator that we are very well versed in regards to what the risks are. And honey, they're not just probable. They've already happened multiple times. You cannot lie when we have the receipts. Okay? Good Lord. They're exhausting. They exhaust me. Okay? Now, in regards to why they say there is some doubt in regards to the fact that you do use the device as a last resort, like you constantly pound your chest over, is because some very brave souls, survivors of your school, like Jennifer Masumba, waived their HIPAA rights in order to provide testimony as well as documentation in regards to what your behavioral contracts actually look like and what the JRC considers shockable offenses. And guess what, JRC? This has also been noted in the 2006 report from the New York State Department of Education. It's been noted by a few others as well. Okay? For real. For real. So what are they, the JRC may ask? But they don't tell us what they are. Oh, yes, they did. They got very detailed, too. Because those shockable offenses that brave souls like Jennifer Masumba made us privy to. And don't forget, folks, I include that behavioral contract that Jennifer Masumba shared in regards to shockable offenses, just in case the JRC wants to try and say we don't have receipts. Let's go over them again, right? If you get up to hug a teacher, that's a shockable offense. If you stand up from your desk longer than 3 seconds without permission, that's a shockable offense. If you raise your hand to your face, even to scratch your head, that is a shockable offense. If you continue to hold your hand up, trying desperately to get the teacher's attention, because you very much need to go to the bathroom, and the teacher determines that you doing that is nagging, that's a shockable offense. If you so much as breathe in a general direction that the JRC does not approve of, it's a shockable offense. And the language that they use to defend this is that any of the behaviors I just mentioned could lead to possible self-injurious harm or aggressive behavior. Therefore, they are going to shock them before the behavior happens. They have not even committed the action yet, and they're getting shocked for it. because the JRC would like us to believe that they are psychic and that they know for a fact when a student gets up for longer than 3 seconds without permission, it's not because they have a wedgie they need to pick out of their ass. It's obviously because they intend violence. Oh, you have your hand up because I've ignored you and you really need to go to the bathroom and you don't want to have an accident at your desk? Well, obviously what was really going on was you wanted us to pay you special attention. Oh, you're groaning and moaning as though you are in pain. You have not indicated in any way in body language whatsoever that you're going to harm yourself or anyone else, but that is disruptive and that is disobedience if I tell you 2 times and it doesn't stop. So you're going to get Aversives for that. Remember, that is exactly what happened in the case of poor Linda, who died from an ulcer after 3 days of hell, having 80,000 Aversives administered to her because she wouldn't stop vocalizing her very real pain. Okay? So JRC, when the FDA is telling you they cannot be sure that every time you're using that device, it's a last resort because the behavior's already happening and they're trying to stop it, when we look at those behavioral contracts and see what you have written in there, that is why the FDA made that comment, as would any other objective, sane person that read it. Okay? It's not that difficult to wrap your brain around. The FDA was very detailed in their explanation in regards to their doubts, in regards to the machine only be using that machine as the very last resort. You can't say it's a last resort if there is no action taking place that is causing the student or anybody else harm. If we use that kind of logic, you could shock someone from getting up, putting their legs on the floor as they get up out of bed as a shockable offense, because that could possibly lead to aggressive behavior later on. It's completely insane logic. What it does do is literally make those poor students afraid of their own shadows. You rule JRC over those student lives with the tyranny of absolute power. You use vague terminology to shock them whenever the hell you want to. And then you mark it down and you use that as the evidence to the parents to keep them there another year so you can get another $265,000 off of them. It's a torture school as well as a Ponzi scheme. All in one. At least that's what it looks like to me. Let me read that last sentence. The FDA provides no explanation for these claims and they are not supported by the evidence. A, yes it is. The evidence of Jennifer Masumba's behavioral contract are absolutely crystal clear, as are the others who also put up their behavior contracts and waived their HIPAA rights as well in regards to shockable offenses. We also have video surveillance tape, in particular in regards to Andre McCollins. The first shock you administered to Andre was not because he was acting aggressive, not because he was harming himself in any way, but because he refused to remove his coat. Now, someone tell me, how was Andre refusing to remove his coat causing himself or anybody else in that room any harm? But disobedience is an aggression. You must never have raised kids then. Not everything for us autistic folks has to do with aggression. If it does come to the point where you see someone like me become mainly aggressive, that is because JRC, that is the monster you turn people like me into. Okay? If I'm acting overly aggressive in a way that spells physical harm to someone in the vicinity or to myself, I've usually been driven to that point. Which is why it doesn't happen these days very often anymore. Thankfully, I no longer have to live through the bullying in public school. And I live on my own. So, extremely rare. Your own video surveillance footage shows that's a lie. And if you read the final ban from 2020, as well as the proposed ban that was done back in 2014, the FDA was very detailed and specific in regards to why they made that statement, including referencing the 2006 report from the New York State Department of Education. You feel me? If that's not an explanation, I sure as hell don't know what is. Do you need them to write it in crayon with small words so that you can better understand JRC? On that one, folks, we're going to go ahead and close out. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do get to be removed every once in a while from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and as always, folks, please don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you do have a good one. I will see you all later. Goodbye, everyone.